This is Annie Botticelli, and I'm back with Astrology this week for February 3rd through 9th, 2025. This is a very powerful week, and I'm very excited about it. We have one nasty aspect right from the beginning that is not what I'm excited about. What I'm excited about is the 6 celebratory aspects that we have throughout the whole week that hopefully can mop up the mess of this first one. So I'm going to talk about all the aspects, give you the dates, and we'll also follow the moon to see where your emotional space will be at and other opportunities that you have as the moon shifts signs every couple of days. This is for all signs, and this is in addition to my new moon and full moon reports and my monthly reports for each sign. So look for all of that, whether you're listening on podcast or on my YouTube channel, because I'm posting frequently. Okay, so let's talk about the moon first. We start out this week, February 3rd, with the moon in Aries. This can put you in a very good mood, ready for action, exuberant, enthusiastic, ready to get stuff done. And you will have a lot of other support for those type of accomplishments this week. Now, this, every sign, every planet, every placement has a range of potential expression from lowest to highest. So there's a full spectrum of manifestation that can happen from this. So you could be ready and ambitious and motivated. But when you couple this energy with the aspect that's nasty that we start the week out with, this can put you in a mood, and not just you, but other people too. So Mars in Cancer coming into a square, not just with the moon, but also with Chiron in Aries. Okay, so Aries and fire and the water coming together. This can be productive steam where you can get some things off your chest, get some things done, move through problems that, especially that had been unconscious, and now we're coming up to the consciousness. But it can really make you angry. This is a hostility type of energy. A square is a mad sort of conflict. And there's something that you have not had a voice about that you may feel like you need to speak up about. And that might not go so well. Or someone may be, for no reason, just using their power in not a great way, or speaking from a place of woundedness. That's something that we have to remember, is that someone can be nasty at this time, but from the place that they're speaking from could be from a very hurt place. And so the more we can keep that in perspective, the more maybe this can be productive. But, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's just nasty. You'll be feeling it in the week before, the first days of February. You'll be feeling it, and not possibly even the very end of January. You'll be feeling it in really all of the rest of this week until about the 7th, 8th, even into the 9th. All right, so it's going to be a shadow that is there. So some things to look out for here, some ways it may manifest, is this tension between assertiveness, which is the Aries, and the vulnerability, which is the Cancer. Okay, so this can, of course, like I said, if we're being optimistic, which I usually am because I'm Sagittarius, like my Capricorn side will tell you if it's nasty, and we did that already. But my Sag side will tell you what you can do with it to make lemonade. Okay, so this can lead to potential healing opportunities where someone can actually say how they feel and get to the bottom of some behavior or some treatment that may not have felt good, that may have felt, really wounded. Chiron is the wounded healer, so this energy of woundedness is going to be coming up. These old wounds related to taking action or self-defense or lack of action may surface. Something to really important to remember, one of my big teachings to try to help, disseminate throughout the world, is that we are affected by astrology, whether we believe it or not, and whether we're aware of it or not. The difference between studying and learning and following astrology is that it takes the unconscious manifestations and makes them conscious. So if you understand what's going on, you can do something different with them. You can understand them better. But we are still under the influence of the stars, regardless of whether we know about it or not, or regardless of whether, we're actively working with the energy. But when you're aware of it, that brings it more into the consciousness. And when there's an aspect like this nasty one, there's usually something unconscious going on under the surface for a while before this time. And this aspect bubbles it out into the consciousness where we can no longer ignore it. We may still not know that it's, an astrologically based manifestation, but it bubbles it up into the consciousness. So aspects bring things that were latent or in the unconscious space into the consciousness to work with. So reactive energy is something that you may see as an undercurrent this week. A heightened need to defend emotional boundaries, possibly leading to misunderstandings. So a few good ways to try to smooth this over, besides the 6 celebratory transits that we'll go through, or aspects, is to practice mindfulness before reacting to emotionally charged situations. Okay, so writing something out before you getting something off your chest. The more you can burn the charge off of it by complaining to somebody else before you actually talk to the person. Whatever you can do to diffuse it a bit is going to be helpful. You can also channel this energy into physical activity or creative outlets, or ways that you can feel constructive. But a caution here is to not overdo it and not injure yourself out of the aggravation of, kind of random impulsive movements. And something else you can do is to just really do inner work on your inner child, because there is something that is wounded in there, and it's probably been there for a long time. Okay, so now that we got in from the yucky stuff, we can go into the glorious stuff and spend the rest of the time here, knowing that this energy that I just spoke of is going to be an undercurrent for the week. Now, on the same day that this nasty aspect is official, we are also going to have an amazing aspect, the first of our celebrations, and that is Mercury in Aquarius trine Jupiter in Gemini. All right, so Mercury in Aquarius, making the most favorable aspect in all of astrology, a trine with Jupiter in Gemini. So look for heightened mental clarity here. Mercury rules this mental aspect of our lives. So you could have some days. Okay, so remember, there's something else that I want to convey and educate on within all my work, so that everyone knows, is that aspects don't just happen on the day that they occur. There are some, like a moon aspect, that may happen just on the day. And the sun, maybe a day in either direction, so over 3 days. But really, most aspects we feel for a period of time before and after. So this one, you will have felt some, early, the first few days of February. You'll feel this throughout, at least through the 6th. And it's strongest in the days around the 3rd. And of course, remember that with an international audience, these days can be staggered by a day or so, because of time zones. But the general energy, and it's really nice when we're talking about short period of time like this over a week, because it's going to be close, whether it's a day off or not. It's just happening at this time. So look for a period of visionary thinking, expansive ideas. This is perfect for innovation. The Aquarius brings us that. It's perfect for brainstorming and collaborating. The Aquarius brings us that. Gemini is also a social energy. It's a prolific expression energy. You may have increased communication flow at this time. You may experience ease in sharing information. And this can really buoy the talks that may have to happen from the other aspects that we were talking about. You also may have amazing opportunities to learn. You could go on an education bender. You could study or teach or engage in these meaningful conversations that will broaden your horizons. When we're talking about Jupiter, we're talking about the sage on the top of the mountain that can have the full 360 view from that vantage point. Jupiter is very strongly featured this week, and as a Sagittarius with a ton of Sag energy, I could not be happier to report that one of the other things going on here this week, on February 4th, is that Jupiter, the ruler of Sagittarius, is going direct. Oh gosh, and the angels sing and the birds chirp and everything is merry, because all of the things that went to sleep that had this beautiful forward movement in 2024 and towards the end of the year got nappy, just sleeping, those things will start to wake up. And throughout January, you may have noticed the signs. I like to call it the sleeping giant starting to be awakened. When you're waking up something huge like this gas giant or like a giant sleeping in the forest, the waking up process takes a little bit, but you start to see the signs. The giant started to open its eyes and move some fingers in January. And here, February 4th, or the days around there, depending on your time zone, he will start to get up and move around and move in a forward direction. Okay, so the waking up of excitement, of optimism, of hopefulness, of, forward thinking process, of bigger picture process, of increased perceptions rather than narrowed. When Jupiter's in retrograde, we are by nature supposed to be narrowing our perspective and getting really focused and discerning, what we're going to use our energy to do. And Mars being in retrograde, which it still is technically right now, later in February, he will wake up. But, we've gone through this discernment process where we picked a few things to focus on. And now the getting the fingers in a lot of pudding pies stuff that Jupiter is known for, especially in fellow mutable sign and fellow scattered all over the place sign Gemini, is waking up. So you may start to have more interests, more diverse range of expression. And it's very, very exciting. So conscious use of the aspect with Jupiter and Mercury plus the waking up of Jupiter is to engage in networking or collaborative intellectual projects because, like I talked about before, Aquarius energy, and it's not just Mercury that's in Aquarius right now. Ceres is there, the Sun is there, Mercury's there, Pallas Athena is almost there, and Pluto is there for like 20 years. The other placements are much quicker moving. But this is a time for connecting with other people. Jupiter and Gemini and all of this Aquarius energy are all about social interactions, virtually, in person, community-based, whatever it is. It's a time of expressing ideas, of writing or speaking or publishing to maximize the influence and to take everything further. And so even though we've got a still sleepy Mars, the signs of him waking up are happening, and Jupiter's just bigger and has more clout, we'll say, astrologically. So yeah, that's going to be big. So you can really use this time for exploring, experimenting, enrolling in educational opportunities to expand knowledge. And it's very much about the taking in and putting out of information. So this is going to just, dominate this week. And you will see a lot of big things start to move forward. In the same days, okay, so I said that the moon was in Aries, and that was starting out on the 3rd and into the 4th and 5th and 6th, we're going to then have Taurus, okay? So as we have these ideas at the beginning of the week, the Taurus moon can help us start to ground in actual actions, not just the spirit of movement, but the task of movement, the discipline of movement will start to ground in from the 4th through around the 6th, okay? And then from the 6th through the 9th, we've got this spinning out of Gemini. Okay, so we've got this process at the beginning of the week of the idea, of the action, of the motivation. Then we have the taking of the actions. Then we have the ADD part of just having focused too much and now we want to spin out. So you'll see, this energy expand as the week progresses. And then on the 9th, the moon will ground from Gemini and start a Cancer movement where you'll get very introspective and, quiet and have this family-oriented focus, which is a layer of truth of this fast-moving moon placement that will add to this very long-term moon or Mars in Cancer. All right, so the whole week, pretty much since September, we've had home and family as an extra focus because even when Mars popped into Leo, it still was never far enough away from Cancer to also be influencing there. So at the end of the week, into the next week, you'll have the moon joining that Mars home family inner world focus. But most of the week really is in this other process that we've just listed. Okay, so now let's go to the next transits. Okay, in the days around February 7th, we've got Venus in Aries, making a beautiful angle with Pluto in Aquarius. All right, so let's clean up some of this and have a look at that. So Venus, where are you, buddy? Okay, so Venus is here at the beginning of the week, which this chart is run for February 3rd. It's in Pisces, but very quickly it moves into Aries. And then as it gets to those early degrees of Aries, it comes and makes a 60-degree angle with Pluto at 2 degrees. Okay, so this is going to bring passionate connections and a deepening of personal relationships that can be driven by this boldness of Aries. And, by the way, we do have a lot of energy in Aries. Okay, the moon by then is not going to be there. Chiron is there long term. Eris is there crazy long term. And Hygeia is there for a shorter amount of time. So we do have this fire energy, blending into this whole storyline. And by the way, speaking of which, if you know my work and you've listened to me before and I sound more worked up right now, part of it is because I love this week, and talking about these energies gets me worked up. But part of it is that I'm trying out a new microphone. I've had clip-on lapel mics of varying sorts, cordless and wired and whatever. Over time, I've tried different microphones. And now I'm trying a microphone that is not on me, which means that my general, very Italian way of gesticulating wildly can actually be set loose off the chain, because when I have the mic clipped on me, if I move around too much, it gets really staticky. So I can actually move my body while I'm talking, which is what Italian people do. And so if I sound more worked up, it's probably mostly because I can actually move with my discussion here. Okay. So back to Venus and Pluto. So we've got this potential with Venus, with love and money and relationships, with Pluto, the transformer, in a wonderful angle full of opportunities. So you may see this strong pull to reinvent relationships. And also remember that we are moving deeper into Venus retrograde pre-shadow transit. So Venus won't officially go retrograde until March 3rd. But every day that passes from the end of January, getting to March 1st, Venus is plunging deeper into this retroactive, intro-focused energy. So this is a return to something. But this can be a fantastic thing, especially with a nice angle like this, because it could be a return to something that worked in the past. It's a fantastic time to have a promo. Speaking of which, I am going to take a moment of shameless self-promotion, only because most of my work in the world is free, and very few of you will ever pay for any of my services, which is completely fine. But those of you that do, keep everything going. And I've got some really amazing paid services that if you think I put a lot into my free work, you should see these, okay? YouTube's making it a little more difficult to connect in with our paid services from YouTube. I don't want to get into all of that now, but because of that, I have to be a little bit more direct with telling you what it is that I'm doing. So I'm just going to switch off real quick, because the way that I am offering a promo at this time, I'm giving you a living example of what is good for you to do at this time. So I'm actually teaching you at the same time how to use the energies while doing this myself, okay? So if you've ever want to learn astrology, my Astrology Mastery Certification course is amazing. Whether you want to help yourself and your friends and family, or you want to get paid to do astrology. Okay, and now I've got this epic promo that you get every single other course in my school for free when you register for this one. And you'll get my never been offered before and only available through this promo, Celestial Mindscape Zodiac series that can help you to tap into synchronicity and self-discovery and soul awakening through frequencies specifically aligned with each zodiac sign, put together by my brilliant sound engineering specialist husband, Ben Newman. Okay, so you get all of those things for free when you register for this course now. So if you go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com, then you will find all the promos. Okay, so now back to what got me on that, is that Venus rules money. And when you go back to something from the past, like people who you promote things to, a promo that has some spirit of something you've done before, which I have done the giving away the other courses in my school for free before. You going back to something that you did before can honor the retrograde energy, but can also bring forward movement. And something really key to know about retrogrades, which we are still in Mars retrograde. We are very recently into Jupiter not being retrograde. We are plummeting into Venus retrograde. It's a time when shorter term things work really well. That's why a promo is amazing during a retrograde, because it's not intended to last forever, right? Those things you want to do to last forever, I would wait until Mars is direct for that. You're not going to have that. It's going to be quite a few months before this this energy clears out of all this retrograde. But yeah, so those big life, once in a lifetime things, they may need more oomph. But these little mini promos, these days around the 7th, you're going to be feeling it really all week, but like the 4th, 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, the most intense on the 7th. when this aspect is exact. Okay, so you can use this to dive into obsessive projects. Pluto is obsessive, or relationships, and a focus on money, a promo, a deep dive with your partner, focus on healing, these outdated patterns, things in the past that needed attention. You can go back to and deal with them now. It's amazing for self-expression, and it really can have a lasting impact, even though we are working with some retrograde energy. Okay, so at the same time as this is happening, we also have the sun, and then Mercury will make this amazing angle with Chiron. Okay, so we had that yucky Chiron aspect at the beginning of the month, but then we have the sun on the 7th through the 8th, and then Mercury on like the 8th through the 9th, then coming and making this beautiful angle with Chiron. By now, while this is all going on, we're in that moon in Gemini thing. Okay, so there's activity, there's movement, there's ADD manifestations all over the place. I'm doing this, I want to do this, I want to do this. Lots of communication, lots of driving around, lots of interaction, lots of mental acuity and expansion. And then we add in these nice angles with Chiron. And most of the angles this week, they're 60-degree angles that bring opportunities that you then sometimes have to do something with. Okay, that's the thing. They're not trines, which we will have one of those as the last aspect that I talk about here. A trine can just deliver things in your lap. A sextile can do that, but usually you have to do something with it. Okay, so if you're aware of what the potentials are, then you can take more action on them, which is one of the reasons why it's great to follow astrology. Okay, so through self-awareness, you can have insights about how your individuality, which is very Aquarian, and how your self-expression can contribute to healing. And it's not just yours, it's healing on a grand level. If you want to do this work, if you want to help people from the suffering that you've had, which is the best way, I mean, right there, if we want to see alchemy in action, it's to take something that has been painful and hard for you and to help other people with it. And actually, we do have a Ceres trine there too, that has been happening. So yeah, so the more you can contribute to global healing, or just a few people, or one person, with every one person you help, the way that can help the world is just magnified through infinity. And then there's this energy of empowerment through vulnerability, where this willingness to share these personal truths can inspire somebody. And then you may have supportive breakthroughs. So your community, Aquarius, may provide moments of ease in addressing and resolving old wounds. One of the important things to know about wounds and healing is that sometimes things have to get messy and ugly in the process of getting it out. And as long as we can move through that yucky stage and not get stuck in the yucky stage, that's one of the keys to healing. Because if we get stuck in the yucky stage, then we have a new problem, right? So this information that comes out of us that's not good is meant to be in passing, and then we move on from it. And if you find yourself getting stuck in it, you may need some support. The last aspect that we have is Mars in Cancer trine Saturn. Trine is the most favorable aspect in all of astrology. Saturn's in Pisces, Mars is in Cancer. This is water, this is emotion, this is intuition. Okay, so Saturn rules discipline, and Pisces rules not discipline, the amorphous, mental, emotional faculties that run amok. So this is a time where you can use Mars, motivation, oomph, to give you discipline with your emotional action. So to get more strategic, to get more disciplined with doing emotional work. We all have emotions, and some people process them differently. Some people may think that they're managing their emotions well, but they're repressing it, and then all of a sudden they have autoimmune disease because, of possibly related repression of emotions, and I'm not saying that's the only way. Obviously, autoimmune disease is an absolute epidemic and one of the biggest challenges of our time, and is a very complex state of dis-ease, no doubt. But there is something around the repression of emotions. So just because you think that you cannot act up in public doesn't necessarily mean, and maybe you can tell, I'm speaking from experience, just because you can manage your emotions doesn't mean that you're handling and channeling them well. And making a breakthrough along this topic may happen now. So you may get some perseverance, push, you may be able to set long-term goals that align with these emotional and spiritual values that you're waking up to. You can use this transit to build these supportive structures. Meditation is an amazing way Saturn and in Pisces manifests, because meditation is discipline and Pisces is your mind and your emotion and the connectedness to the all that is. The more science that you read about meditation, the more hopefully you'll be motivated to incorporate this. And this has to do with brainwave states. You've heard me talk about this. I will continue to talk about this. Meditation is about many things, but one of the things is adjusting your brainwave state. Brainwave states can fuel or heal disease and can change the nature of your experience. So you may make headway at this time along these topics. So overall, a very exciting week. Definitely check out my promo at beastropro.com, beastropro.com. And you can find my Astrology Mastery Certification course and all of my delicious promos. And if you want to get all of my content early and get free VIP access to my Eclipse resource page, which, hey, those are coming soon. We're definitely feeling eclipse energy this week. Eclipse manifestations may be getting very strong as we're getting closer to March. You also get my retrograde resource page, which has a ton of stuff on Venus retrograde, my 28-day virtual coaching program, and my monthly written star report with my sweet and salty dates 1 month early. So go to anniehelpsyou.com for all of this. Put your name and email address in at this site. Click receive to access, and you'll get the welcome letter with the goodies. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you soon. Bye.